Hey witches, I'm Tiffany of Bewitching.Bemused, and today we are going to talk about some of the ethics of witchcraft. I am finally burning the candle that I bought on Sacred Smoke Herbals that I showed you guys in my unboxing video from there. But at the time, I didn't want to burn it right away because it's very like woodsy and apple scented. And that to me needed to be saved for fall. And I am definitely going to buy this candle again. It smells so freaking good. It's called Nights by the Fire, and I will list the product link down below in the description box because I really wish I could put the scent into the video so you guys could smell it. It is so good. Anyway, ethics of witchcraft. I feel the need to talk about this because there are so many areas of witchcraft where we kind of walk a fine line with ethics. And I also see a lot of, should I phrase this nicely? Really awful advice online. So I just want to talk about some of the main topics. I'm not going to go over every single aspect of witchcraft that could cause a moral dilemma, but I just want to touch on some of the ones that I see come up the most. Now, these are just from my personal experience, what I've seen crop up the most. So if you've seen something else that you think should also be talked about and addressed, please leave it down in the comments below with your thoughts and opinions on it. Part of this is because I just read the book of Blood and Bones. There's a book review for it right up here, and it had me thinking about a lot of these areas because that book was meant to be sort of the darker side of magic, but in my opinion, it was a very ethically sound book. And this video isn't meant to be like super judgy or like, you know, I'm up on my high horse talking down to everybody. It's really not meant to be about that. It's meant to start a discussion. That's really what I want to do with this video. Some of these points you might disagree with, and I really do think that people should have the freedom to define their own moral compass as well as their code of ethics. So I just hope that maybe I'll make some people think and maybe clear up some misconceptions or shed some light on some areas so certain topics are viewed like, oh, well, I heard this piece of advice, but that's actually a very interesting way to look at it, Tiff. I didn't really think about it from that perspective before. Maybe that'll happen, maybe not. I would just like more people to stop and consider the consequences of their actions before doing certain things because they got a certain piece of advice off of a video or out of a Reddit post or a TikTok clip. I guess their videos also. I'm not on TikTok, I don't know. And not just the consequences for yourself, but also the potential consequences for other people. Before we dive in, I am going to completely skip over my thoughts on love spells because I did a whole video dedicated to just that. It's linked right up here and also down in the description box. The first thing I want to address, and this was actually heavily inspired by an article that somebody sent to me a while ago, is that when we say that paganism and witchcraft have no rules, you know, there's no rules in witchcraft, there's no rules in magic, blah, 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 it doesn't mean you can just run around doing whatever the hell you want with no consequences. Sure, depending on your own spiritual path, your personal beliefs, you may not believe in like eternal torment after you die for the wrongdoings committed in this life. You, like myself, may not ascribe to that, and you may not believe in the Western idea of karma or the Wiccan threefold law. Like, sure, myself, I don't believe in any of those things. I do not live my life based on any of those ideas. But I strongly believe in having empathy for others. I live by the golden rule, which is treat others how you want to be treated. And why do I do that? Because it's just the right thing to do. I don't like hurting other people. I don't like the thought of hurting other people or animals or the environment. So when I say that witchcraft has no rules, I have hoped, and I still hope, that when I say this, people are aware that when I say there are no rules in witchcraft, what I mean is you don't have to take a spell out of a book and follow it step for step with all of the exact ingredients and all the right measurements and say the incantation exactly as it's written down, otherwise it won't work. I mean, you don't always have to do a love spell on a Friday. I mean that one person's correspondences may be completely different than another person's correspondences, and both of those are completely valid and will absolutely work for each of those individuals. The list goes on. In saying that there are no rules, I mean we don't follow one book. Everyone's practices are different and all are absolutely valid. Sadly, not everybody realizes this. Some people just hear witchcraft has no rules. And in witchcraft, for the vast majority of us, we do not believe in hell and eternal torment. And they go, awesome! Some people, because not everybody is a good person, use this whole no rules idea and use that to justify really crappy behavior. And of course, sadly, that kind of life approach is absolutely not limited to the witchcraft community. Crappy people, bad people will find a way to justify their negative, their bad, their malicious actions. But I hate that within our community, this idea of witchcraft being free and open and welcoming, then the wording of it gets twisted into something very negative. So let's start with cursing and hexing as a first resort. Now, this does not mean I am against things like cursing. I very much sit in a world of gray. I have definitely cast some curses in my life, and I will definitely cast some curses later on in my life. And it probably seems kind of ironic that I would post this video 2 weeks after a video on binding. But in my own individual practice, I use curses as a last resort. I don't use them to get revenge. I use them to improve a situation for myself or for others. If you're thinking of cursing someone, ask yourself, have you tried other options first? Have you tried talking to them? Have you gone to a superior, whether that's HR, your boss, your mom and dad, the police, spoken to an authority figure first? Have you tried simply avoiding them? Now, I understand that no two situations are the same. Sometimes there is no greater authority for you to speak to. Sometimes a person is so aggressive that you cannot confront them without putting yourself in danger. So again, I'm not saying do not curse people who are super toxic or dangerous. I'm just saying check out your other options first. Don't just curse somebody right off the bat because you're not good with confrontation and it makes you too anxious to try to talk to them about the situation or their behavior. I've talked about this before, but don't jump to cursing just because you're super angry and you need to do something about it right now. Just sit down, take a deep breath, ask yourself a few questions. Is there another way to fix this? And if you find that you are just at the end of your rope, you've tried everything you can, or like I said, this person is very hostile and you cannot engage with them without putting yourself or other people in danger, then by all means, do what you will. Cultural respect. This could take up its own video, so I'll try to be as concise as possible. First of all, as a white person, I do not feel it is appropriate or that I am comfortable going onto a public platform and talking about my feelings about cultural appropriation. Not because I feel like I'm gonna get attacked or anything like that. It's more just that I'm a white person. It's not my space to speak. What I will say is that there are magical practitioners that are also people of color that I have spoken with. both within my own coven and outside of it, that absolutely do not mind other people borrowing from their culture so long as those people are respectful, so long as it is not a closed practice, and so long as it's not being used simply for exploitative purposes. Now, to be fair, this is completely anecdotal. I did not go out and take a vote. So my experience speaking with those people is not necessarily the be-all end-all. And like I said, as a white person, I am not here to give anybody permission to borrow outside of their own ethnic background. All I can tell you is that know which practices are open and which ones are closed. If they are closed, respect that. Also, do not go around claiming to be initiated into any sort of tradition that you are not actually initiated into. Do not claim to have a title that you do not actually have, and do not exploit people, spiritual beliefs, or resources. Now, if you are interested in learning about, asking questions, or being initiated into a closed practice, seek out someone who actually is initiated and practices that tradition. And if they say no, hey, you know what? You tried, you were respectful, continue to respect that decision and take a step back. There are plenty more paths out there. Food tampering. Okay. The fact that I have to even say this is so ridiculous. I see way too many spells floating around on the internet that suggest you take your blood, menstrual blood, urine, saliva, or other bodily fluids, put it in someone else's food, and then feed it to them. Do I even need to say why this is so wrong and disgusting? Putting bodily fluids in somebody's food without their knowledge is unhygienic, it's dangerous, and in many places, it's illegal. Please don't do it. Gathering ingredients and improper disposal of spell ingredients. On the topic of disposing of spell ingredients, I'm just going to say I made another video that's literally called How to Dispose of Spell Ingredients. And in one section, I do talk about how to dispose of them in an eco-friendly and safe manner. So that's up here. It's also linked down below. Check that out if you want more on that topic. I won't belabor the point here because I go over it in plenty detail in that video, but I will sum it up by saying, once you take spell ingredients that are dangerous, poisonous, or non-biodegradable, and you leave them somewhere out in nature, they magically cease to be spell ingredients and turn into trash. Now, when it comes to the gathering of ingredients, and I don't mean going out into nature yourself and gathering, I mean going on the internet and gathering, going to a local metaphysical shop and gathering. I just want to ask people to please be conscientious enough to inquire what the source of these materials are. Now, this should really go for every item that you buy, including mundane stuff, not just magical tools. And I totally understand that not everybody can afford to make everything they buy, 100% organic, locally sourced, free range, cruelty free, biodegradable, etc., etc., etc. But we should try to shop as ethically as we possibly can, especially when it comes to spell ingredients. I just think to myself, okay, if this crystal was mined by an underage, underpaid worker in a very dangerous environment, how is that going to do anything positive for me? I don't care what that crystal's correspondences are. I don't care that I've cleansed it. It was brought to me through somebody else's suffering. It's not always possible to be able to trace every single thing that you purchased and every single ingredient of of that item that you purchased, where it all came from, who made it. All I'm asking is that you simply try your best. Ask the shop owner or whoever is in charge of making purchases. Plenty of websites have a direct email address that you can contact them for more information, and some of them provide the information directly on their website. Or better yet, harvest your own materials, which personally, I find that when you gather and harvest your own materials and ingredients out in nature, they are a lot more powerful. But also keep in mind that a witch's most important tool is their mind. For most of the rest of it, you can find replacements or do without. I'm sure I've missed some. Those were just the main ones that I wanted to touch on, but if there's some that you guys would like to bring up for discussion, like I said, please drop those down in the comments below. Also, let me know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Finally, if you're brand new here, welcome. I have a lot planned for the month of October coming out this month, so make sure to stick around and subscribe. Those of you who have been around for a while, hello, I love you. But also, same thing, I have a lot planned for October that I'm very, very excited about, so make sure to tune in Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's it for now though, so I will talk to you soon. In the meantime, stay magical.